Hey guys, it's Linux Next here, and in today's video, I wanted to check out a distro that I have heard of multiple times over the past, I would say, year or so of using Linux, and I decided to install it a couple of days ago. And if you don't look at my terminal screen right now, it is Bazzite. And if you don't know what Bazzite is, well, it's a FEDORA KINOITE based distro, which the FEDORA KINOITE is a immutable atomic based distro, and the way this works I'll explain it later in the video, but I decided to install this distro, which is specifically made towards more of a gaming based distro, so it has a lot of things pre-installed for the user to start playing games. Basically includes this immutable file system that blends honestly really well when it comes to, I'll explain later, when it comes to like dates and stuff. But not just that, some other people have been reviewing Bazzite. I know TechTardis has been decided to install Bazzite on his main PC, and he also had a follow-up stream that he did where he basically broke Bazzite because he updated from Bazzite 3, sorry, Bazzite 2 to Bazzite 3, and Plasma decided to break because of some cache build-up that he had in his home folder, which he had to just delete, and then it was fixed. But I installed Bazzite when it was on Bazzite 3, so I didn't have any of these issues. I'm already on Plasma 6. But if we did check out, like I've said, there's been a lot of other people that have been making videos on Bazzite, and I always, wanted to try Bazzite, and I did try Bazzite for, I think, a couple days on when it was on Bazzite 2, 2 point something, and it was a decent experience. I didn't really understand the immutable file system that well and how updates worked, and I felt like it was rather maybe a little bit slower than what I wanted, and that's why I kind of moved to the Arch-based distros because I wanted updates really quickly. But since I did, I did use Nubara for a very long time as my main distro, I thought, well, I already know FEDORA really well when it comes to basic command line stuff. So why don't I try Bazzite? And so I did, decide to install it, and like I said, I've been running it for around a week now, and it has been a surprisingly good experience. And I felt like I know a lot more about immutable distros now and how they update and how you install things, and just the preferred method of like installing different packages for specific package managers and stuff like that. So if you don't know, the people who basically run the whole Bazzite distro is a group called Universal Blue, and they host a lot of other different distros, not just Bazzite. As you can see here, they're our images page. There is Aurora, there is Bazzite, the one I'm using right now. There's Project Bluefin, and they try to, like, I guess, lay it out for different use cases. I mean, you could probably use all of these for gaming, but specifically Bazzite. The reason I guess they created Bazzite was, one, they like the idea of like an immutable file system and the way that updates in atomic style, but also they can kind of make it similar to how the Steam Deck works, because the Steam Deck is kind of a immutable distro that they're running, and they decided to implement the whole Steam Deck UI. So if you do have, like, I don't know, maybe a small computer or something that you want to put, like, I don't know, in your lounge room on a TV, and you want to play your games on there as like a little SteamOS machine, Bazzite can be a great distro to choose for that because it includes that SteamOS UI for it. So if we do go to like the main website of Bazzite, we can have a look at it and see what what it says. It says the next generation of Linux gaming, which I guess so. It's not really the next generation, but it's definitely, because of its immutable style, it definitely can be a contender, similar to how the Steam Deck works. So it says here that it's powered by FEDORA and Universal Blue. Bazzite is a custom image built upon FEDORA Atomic desktops that brings the best of Linux gaming to all of your devices, including your favorite handheld. So it says here, play your favorite games. Bazzite comes ready to rock with Steam, UJUST pre-installed HDR support for AMD GPUs, the System 76 scheduler to ensure your currently focused game application has your CPU's priority in numerous community developed tools for your gaming needs. Not a Steam purist, UJUST and heroic games from the flat up can not only run games from other stores, but cleanly integrate them into Steam gaming mode, including EA Origin, Epic Game Store, GOG, Itch, Rockstar Launcher, Ubisoft Launcher, and your dad's old CDs, and more. So you can see it, it does include a lot of applications in the distro to try and, bridge that gap when it comes to, switching to Linux and not really having to learn that much, I guess, for for the gaming side of things. It kind of like sets you up on that path to learning how those applications work on Linux. And it talks about the whole fearless update thing, which means because they use this thing called libOSTREE, or they call it RPM-OSTREE. And basically what it does is it will look at a specific tree, I like to say, which is like has a bunch of packages and updates, and it will see if your tree that you're on actually needs to update to that tree. And basically what it does is it just swaps out that tree that you have right now, and it puts that on a separate partition, because if you don't know, on immutable systems, they have an A/B partition scheme. It's kind of similar to how Android phones work today, where they have an A/B partition. So with this A/B partition, like I said, if there is a tree that has a newer update, it will install it on the A partition, and then the one that you're on right now will be put into the B partition. And the reason they do that is because if that tree, that new one that's on partition A, when you reboot, there might be a bad update that may happen. So what ends up happening is you have this B partition, which is your older one. You can easily just boot back into that from the grub menu that shows up when you first boot up Bazzite, and you can just select that partition B, and then you can easily boot back in, and then either wait for the update to get fixed or try and figure it out yourself. And that was actually shown on Chris Titus's stream of Bazzite. I'm pretty sure it was like the one where it broke, and he booted into the partition that he had, or the tree that he had before, the partition B, and he was able to get back into his PC and try and just figure out like what specifically the problem was, and then solve it. So I feel like that's one of the good things about Bazzite, is that since it has this RPM-OSTREE technology, you can easily just be confident, and that's why it says fearless updates, that if something does break, if Bazzite releases Bazzite 4 and they're rebasing to I don't know, Plasma 6.5 or something, and then I don't know, FEDORA 41, that's probably what they would rebase to, and you have all these issues, then you can just go back to the previous tree that you had, instead of having to do a full reinstall like you normally would when something really big breaks. If you're not really, I guess, knowledgeable enough about how to fix those problems, you would just have to do a reinstall. But with something like Bazzite, which is immutable, or even if you went to what Bazzite is based on, which is FEDORA, the FEDORA KINOITE, I think it's called, that's the KDE version, installing that would be also a really good option when it comes to an immutable distro. Or for example, Vanilla OS, which I did do a review on. You can go watch that if you want to. That was kind of like my first distro I tried of an immutable distro, but that kind of had the same idea with its whole A/B partition, and like having this type of updates that are rather safe, because if something does break, you can just go back to the previous partition. So when it comes to downloading Bazzite, you usually just go to the download Bazzite button, or scroll down to basically the bottom of the screen of that page, and you just go through this. So what hardware are you using? So for me, I would choose a desktop, but if you go back here, there is a lot of options. So if you have a home theater PC, like I was talking before, maybe you have a tiny PC that you want to put into as like a home theater gaming device, you can just sit on the couch and just play games with the whole SteamOS UI. You could select that. Or, if you have a handheld, like a Steam Deck, it says OLED is in development, and then you have like a Lenovo Legion Go and a Zeus Rogue Ally, and plenty of others, and even laptops as well. So, if there are specific drivers that are on those laptops that you need that other distros don't include, well, Bazzite does include those things. Or the other one is just a virtual machine. So if you want to muck around with it, let's say you want to test it out, you're on Windows or something, you can just grab the virtual machine. So for me, I'm going to choose desktop, and then it says, what desktop environment do you prefer? So we're going to choose the KDE Plasma, but there is GNOME, and Budgie is coming soon. Maybe even Cosmic might be coming soon to Bazzite as well, as I'm pretty sure FEDORA is going to maintain Cosmic in their actual main distro. So Cosmic might appear here at some point, but they do say they are bringing Budgie, which is another desktop environment that is bringing things like Wayland support and is actually starting to do more development. But but we're going to choose the KDE Plasma version. And then it says, who is the vendor of your primary GPU? So for me, I'm using an AMD RX 6700. I'm going to choose AMD. But if you, let's say you are on an NVIDIA that is a 10 series plus, if you're below that, then I'm sorry, you're probably not going to be able to, I guess, use Bazzite. There might be a way of installing the 470 series drivers or lower, but I'm unsure of actually how to install that. So if you are above 10 series or above, then you're on, like, you can select the NVIDIA one and then download the Bazzite NVIDIA ISO. But like for me, I'm on AMD and it says, do you want Steam gaming mode? This will automatically log into game mode and only supports a single user. So I'm gonna say I chose no because I don't want that. And that's basically it. You can now download the ISO. And let's say you have Bazzite installed right now and you want to, let's say, change a bunch of things. Maybe you want to change the release schedule. So you want to get more, I guess, dates, for example. You can do the RPM-OSTREE rebase, and then you can rebase to a new repo, basically, or new tree, and then get that new update, and then easily swap out the stable version of Bazzite to a newer version, which is really cool. And if you want to install Bazzite with SecureBoot enabled, that is supported. I was able to find a Reddit post of someone that said like how to basically do it and the way that they did it. And the way that they did it was basically you have SecureBoot disabled, and then you install Bazzite, and then basically you use the UJUST enroll-secure-boot-key in your terminal. Copy this, open up your terminal, you copy and paste that in there, and then it would go through and then prompt you maybe with a password, and then he said to use UBlueOS. You would reboot, and then you'll see a blue screen, and you want to enroll with MOK. So I'll link this down below if anybody is using SecureBoot enabled, as I know someone else asked me yesterday on Reddit basically about Bazzite, and they wanted to use SecureBoot, and I was like, yes, you should be able to use it. It's just the way that you enable it is a bit, I guess, odd. But this is the way that one user did do, and it sounds like a really easy way of doing it if I wanted to use SecureBoot, even though I don't have SecureBoot enabled. But if you do want SecureBoot enabled, that is one way of doing it. So now that you've downloaded the Bazzite ISO for your computer or home theater or Steam Deck, well, what do you do next with that? Well, you grab a USB drive. It recommended that you be at least over like 4 gigabytes of storage or 8 gigabytes just to be safe. And if you're on like Windows or you're on really any operating system, you can use this software, which is called Balena Etcher. It's an easy way of, selecting the image, selecting the drive, and then it will flash the ISO onto the USB stick for you. For me, I like to use the ISO image writer from the KDE developers, which you can easily grab on the FlatHub website, or you just go to your store. So for me, it's just Discover, and then I would just do ISO image writer here and just download it. Or, there's some other ones you can grab here, like the FEDORA media writer. This does allow you to flash other ISOs into USB sticks, not just FEDORA. Or Impression, that was another one I used to use a lot. Or even Popsicle, which is made by System 76. And then after you're done flashing that, you would just figure out, if you have, let's say, for me, I have a gigabyte motherboard, so I have to do FN F12 when I boot up my PC to bring up the USB selection to actually like boot into a specific device, either it be an SSD or a USB stick. So I would figure out what hardware brand you're using, and then just do a general search of what the key is to actually bring up that bootable menu. And then you would just go through the FEDORA installation that would come up. It's pretty easy to go through. I wouldn't make a root account. That's the one thing. You don't need to make a root account. You can just make a user account, and then you'll have sudo permission on that user account. So you don't need to create a root account. That's not needed. You can do that if you want to. I don't know why you would want to do that necessarily. There might be plenty of things I'm just not thinking of, but you can just create a user account, and then the root account will be done, and you'll have the sudo permission to actually do all those types of commands. And then hopefully after you've done all of that, well, you have Bazzite now installed. So you would just easily boot into it, and you're welcomed here. And one of the first things that you can do is you can open up the one of the first things that will spawn on Bazzite is the Bazzite portal, which is a very nice handy tool for installing and enabling certain things that you may have issues on if you install any other type of distro that you would have to manually do. So this is why I kind of like this distro, is it tries to enable some things for you. So if we click next here, there is a bunch of things here it will enable. So for example, add input group to current user, adds the input group to your current user required for certain controller drivers. That's one thing that can be enabled. Other ones like install game mode startup video. So it adds a Bazzite themed startup video for Steam's game mode. That's really neat. And then the one that I really like is the fixed Steam download speed. Because if you don't know, on the Linux Steam client at the moment, there is a download speed problem that's been causing a lot of problems for a lot of users. And I was the one who posted the issue about it on the Steam Linux GitHub forum. Not forum, it's just an issue page. And I posted about it, and the solution that I found from someone else that posted a YouTube video about it, which I'll link below. But enabling it is, I guess, maybe a bit confusing for some people. So Bazzite including this automatically, or just do it automatically for you, is really nice to see, because like I said, it can be really confusing for some people as to like why you need to do this. And some people don't actually get a fix out of this. I do. Before I was getting around like 40 download, 40 megabits per second, and then applying this fix, I was able to go from 40 to my max download on my internet plan, which is around 140 down. This is a really good fix that this is here, and I would definitely enable it to see if you do get any improvements with download speeds on the Steam client. But there's other things you can install like Sunshine, OpenRazor, OpenTablet Driver, Oversteer, the Wootility, which if you have a Wooting keyboard, it's a very popular gaming keyboard. You can install a GUI that was created a couple months ago by someone. I'm pretty sure it probably would work for the majority of the Wooting keyboards. And then there's another one here for the AMD GPUs, which is the LACT overclocking software, which I do use, and it's a very nice software for easily looking at information of your GPU, looking at, you know, if you want to overclock, like put more power into it, have a maximum GPU clock, your maximum VRAM clock. If you want to, let's say, underclock or undervolt, you can do those things, and you can change the performance level. So for me, it's just on the highest clock, so then I don't have any real big problems when playing games. And you can change like the thermals, like you can put a different fan curve if you want to as well. And then it brings up a nice selection of, you know, if you want to install any apps. So if you want to install different types of web browsers, you know, some gaming stuff. So if you want to install Discord, bottles, and when I was doing these installs, it seemed to be just grabbing them from Flatpak, which is probably the only type of like installation method you can do on these immutable distros, is you basically have to use Flatpak. You can use system applications, and I'll go into that later in the video of how to do that, but it's not really the best option necessarily. Your main option is basically Flatpak, and with this, it does it pretty easy for you. And even if you do forget, you can relaunch this application, as I have it pinned here. You want to grab more applications, but of course, there's the Discover store, so you can just grab applications from there. But like I said, there is a bunch of applications that you can install. Like I installed OBS Studio from here, and Discord and bottles all from here, and they all installed perfectly fine. And then it says all done. Thank you for trying Bazzite. Please reboot to apply changes made by the setup utility. That's when you would reboot, and then it would have all the changes applied for you. So if we do open up our terminal, it does actually have a pretty nice presentation for us to, you know, documentation, the Discord forum, Mastodon, if you have an issue, and it comes up with, like, you know, the commands that you can do. So the main command that we use is UJUST. And if we do UJUST, it comes up with a bunch of options that we can choose from. So if you want to, like, let's say restart Pipewire, which is your the way audio gets controlled on Linux, you can easily just restart that. You can restore the Bazzite Breeze GTK theme, so it restores the Bazzite Breeze GTK 4 theme for you. There's also tons of other things, like if you want to use the NVK driver for some reason, even though the NVK driver is not ready yet, you can actually try it out out. If you have an NVIDIA card, you want to try the open source Vulkan driver, you can do that. So if you wanted to do that, you just do UJUST, and then you would do toggle NVK, and then it would do it. I'm not going to do it because I'm running AMD, but you can do that if you want to. So if you do want to update, you just UJUST update, and it will just check for updates for you. So what it's actually going to do here is it's just going to check out a specific tree that is in that repo, and to see if there's any updates available for me, and if there is, then it will just replace the things that it needs, and it will just basically put this tree that we have right here into the older partition B, and then the new one on partition A. And as you can see, there is no upgrades available. And it's also going to upgrade the Distrobox that I have running, which I'll talk about later in the video also, which is a really neat thing that I've talked about in Vanilla OS before. But as you can see, everything is done here. There's no updates on anything. There was actually updates for, like I said, for the Distrobox. I think it was my Arch Distrobox had some updates, but you can see here it's a system update is okay. The Distrobox is okay. Firmware upgrades, Flatpak, the AMD GPU controller application, which would be LACT, I'm guessing, and then the Mozilla GNOME theme, and then third-party CSS loader themes are all okay. So then that's an indication that everything is updated for you. And if you don't want to use that, you can specifically just look at the system data, and it will just launch a terminal window, and you can just watch it just do the update for you, and there's actually no hassle really needed. The one thing that we can do is we can look at these RPM-OS trees that we have set up on that A/B partition scheme, and we can just do RPM-OS tree status, and it will just show us the OS tree that we're running on partition A, which is, you can tell by which one is in use by the dot. So as you can see here, this is the one that I'm running. It's version 40.20240427.0, and it should have a date here, 2024-04 of the 27th. So I got that update on the 27th, or it was created on the 27th. And then you can see here is our second one that we have that's on partition B. So if there's a problem, we can just boot into partition B, and then we can basically either like rebase, or we can just update it and see if there's a newer one that can be replacing the broken one that we have. And to actually do that, let's say it actually does break, we can do the rollback command, which I did see Tech Titus actually do that in his video of Bazzite when he broke it. And you can just do this command, and it will just roll back to the other RPM-OS tree that you had before. And another command that we can look at is the UJUST changelog. So if you want to look at specific changelogs of, like, let's say Bazzite 3 that just recently came out, which is what I'm running right now, you can have a look at all the fixes and new features and rebases that they've done to Bazzite, and it just makes it, I guess, really easy. If you don't want to go into a browser, you can just go into the terminal really easy and just look at it. Now, one thing that I have noticed with the RPM-OS tree is when it's updating, it may sit looking at a tree for a while, and you may think that nothing is happening, but things are happening. It just doesn't have a progress indicator or like a progress bar of what's going on until it's like finished doing that, and then it will actually like install everything, and you will see your progress. But it's just that first instance of, like, when I first installed Bazzite, I was like, is it looking for an update? I don't know, and I would just leave it there, and then it would actually start doing stuff. So don't worry if you see that and you're like, oh no, like, what's going on? Nothing's happening, is there something wrong? There isn't nothing wrong. It's just doing things in the background. It just doesn't have a progress indicator. Now, one of the things when it comes to having a mutable or a atomic distro is that when you install system applications, so like if you wanted to do that, you would have to basically relayer the tree that you're using, and it basically has to recreate that tree again, and then you actually have to reboot your PC. Pardon me, you have to reboot your PC to actually have that new system application. So this can be quite annoying if you are, let's say, building something, GitHub for example, and you want to do like CMake or something like that, and you need all these system applications to be installed. Then you have to install each one and then wait for the OS tree to relay it all, so then you can reboot and then have the system applications installed, and then build it. So this can be quite time consuming, and that's why it's not really the recommended way of actually doing any of that. So like other distros, you install system applications. On here, it's not really the best way of doing it, and this is why you'll be introduced to distro boxes and how to use that properly, which I'll talk about very soon. But I guess like one of the first ways of using, an immutable distro is when you are using different package managers. The best way of using packages, either be a GUI or a system, is basically either doing Flatpak, which you can easily grab through the Discover store. You can just easily grab a Flatpak because that's containerized and that works really well with an immutable distro. Or you can use app images, and I did use an app image not long ago. Trying to remember, it was for the Desktop Alpha. So you can see here, this is and Nexus mods, which is a mod manager that the Nexus developers are working on currently. So I installed Desktop, for example, and you just easily can just drag and drop a .app image into this application, and it makes it really easy. You can easily just like remove it, or when you add it, you just add it and you create a shortcut for you easily into here. You can easily, just launch it. One of the other things that I talked about with Vanilla OS, for example, is I have to mount my drives in home instead of mounting it in the root file system. So usually I would mount my drives in /games or /extra games. But for this, you have to mount it in the home folder. It would be in /var/home. So when you are mounting drives, just remember you have to mount it in your home, because you can't mount that in the root directory because it's read only. So that just doesn't work properly. So one of the ways of solving the system application problem where RPM-OSTREE has to relayer itself every time you install a system application is using Distrobox. And when we use Distrobox, it already includes a GUI application for us to make it really easy, which is called Box Buddy. Like the name, it's very cute. And you can create basically different distros inside of this kind of containerized, similar to how I guess Flatpak works, how that's containerized. So you can create these distros, and then you can basically install applications through the terminal. You do have to use the terminal, I know, scary. And we can basically, like I have an Arch one here, we can open up the terminal here and we can go straight into the Arch Distrobox that we have created, and we can use a command like Paru, for example, there, which is an AUR Arch helper for installing packages. And let's say we want to install Discord, so we're going to type Paru Discord. It's going to look through the AUR and the Arch repository. I'm just going to go all the way up to the top because that's how it's ordered. I can change it if I want to, but you can see here Discord in the extra repository. So we're going to select Y, and it's just going to install the Discord application for us. And after it's done installing, basically what's going to happen is we're going to be able to view the application that is installed. We open this here. It's going to detect the applications that are installed. As you can see, Discord is here. So all we can do is we can add this to the menu, which will create a shortcut for us in here. So if you type Discord, then we have Discord on Arch. So we can then launch it, and then we have Discord running, but it's running in the Arch Distrobox. So instead of running it on Bazzite, it runs it in the Arch Distrobox that was created. And there we go. We're just running Discord on basically an Arch system, but not really. But we are. It's a bit confusing, but we are just running Discord in that Arch Distrobox. That's really all it is. So this can solve the problem of, you want to, let's say, build something. Let's say you want to build a source build of OBS Studio for some reason, and you want the latest features of that. Well, you can easily do it in a Distrobox, either creating one like FEDORA, for example. We can open up the FEDORA one. We can do sudo dnf update, and then it will check through the updates in the FEDORA and see there's nothing there. So you can see it's working great. And I honestly, whoever made Distrobox, I forgot who made it, but this is an awesome project. I actually do like this a lot, and I will continue to use it on immutable distros if I ever want to install a system application or I want to like build something, for example. It's a really good solution, I would say, for like immutable distros. So some other neat things that are in Bazzite is one like Firefox, for example. It already has VARP /hardware acceleration enabled for you. So if you have an AMD card, you don't have to enable VARP acceleration, and you don't have have to, like on Arch, for example, you have to grab the libva mesa package to actually get VARP hardware acceleration working on an AMD card. You don't have to do that. Hardware acceleration is already enabled. So if you're on Intel or AMD, that should work out of the box for you on Bazzite through like Firefox. And then the VM max map count is already pretty high, because if it's not high enough, specific games will basically run out of this like virtual memory. So it's been happening on a lot of distros lately, and these distros have had to raise that maximum number so that these games don't crash. For example, the Finals, that's a game that I play a lot. That game crashes when it's on the default VM max map count, which is like 6,400, I think. And you can raise it to like what the Steam Deck uses, which is like a really high number, but that's not really required. So like FEDORA, they raised theirs. So Bazzite already has theirs raised, so that games like the Finals, some other games that crash as well, they won't crash because that VM max map count is really high. And one of the other good things about, I guess, gaming on Bazzite is that there is a System 76 scheduler built into Bazzite that's already installed. So what this is basically is it's able to prioritize the games that you launch, kind of similar to the game mode application, very, very similar to that, but instead it's actually a scheduler. So it works with the Linux kernel, and it actually prioritizes your processes that actually need prioritizing, like video games. So when you are running a game, System 76's scheduler will just easily make sure that that game is a priority for you, and you'll get better performance out of it when running those games. And the last thing is gaming on Bazzite. How has the experience been when playing games on Bazzite under my RX 6700? This is on an AMD card. You might have a different experience on NVIDIA. I know that Bazzite did re-add the NVIDIA drivers, and they created a X11 session for NVIDIA users, so that when the explicit sync patches arrive for using Wayland on an NVIDIA card, you can then just easily log out of the X11 session, log into the Wayland session, and you should be good. But when it comes to gaming on Bazzite on AMD under Wayland, the experience has been really good. There hasn't been really any problems, I would say. I guess the only issue, it's not really an issue, it's more just missing codecs, I'm pretty sure, is on the Finals, the LCDs that are around the maps, they're broken again, which was a kind of an issue that had been lasting for a couple months now on the Finals, and it was fixed on the Arch based distros, or I think OpenSUSE is fixed also. So any distros that use, I think it's one of the proprietary codecs, I don't necessarily know, but on Bazzite, the LCD screens on the Finals is broken under Bazzite, but on Arch, which I have been using Arch for like I think a month now, it doesn't have that problem. So if any Bazzite developers are watching and you know what codec is used for the Finals, I tried asking Valve on the issue page, but they haven't responded of what specific codec is used, or just what specific thing that Bazzite doesn't have. But if any Bazzite developers do know, and they would like to, add the correct thing for the Finals to work properly with the LCD screens on the maps, that would be awesome. But besides that, the experience of using Bazzite for gaming, which is basically its purpose, is playing games, was really good. I've been playing the Finals. I've been playing that a lot, and I've been continue to enjoy it, I would say. Besides getting a bit angry in playing ranked sometimes, to playing Overwatch 2, I was playing that a bit with my friends, and then playing Helldivers 2, as that was gifted to me by one of my friends that he decided to buy it for me, and we've been playing that a lot, and that's been running amazing under Proton on Bazzite. There's been no problems with it. I heard that some people have problems on Arch, but I'm gonna see that because I'm gonna reinstall Arch probably like next week or so and see if Helldivers 2 has any problems. But from my experience, playing games on Bazzite has been really good. There's been no real problems, I would say. Basically almost the similar experience on Arch, except that you have the System 76 scheduler, so you don't have to use game mode anymore. You can just use the System 76 scheduler, and it will prioritize those games. And since FEDORA, or Bazzite, is based on FEDORA KINOITE, I don't know if I keep saying that wrong. I might be saying that wrong, but that distro does come with a pretty new kernel and mesa, and when it comes to updating packages, those those updates do come out pretty quickly, and they have these feature releases. So when it comes to specifically updates, I would say Bazzite does a pretty good job when it comes to getting the latest, roughly the latest kernel and the latest desktop environment updates and the latest Messer updates and stuff like that. It does do a really good job of that, and it gives you a stable experience, I would say, to where it doesn't break. It's not like Arch where it's just rolling. You do have to wait for certain like updates to arrive, but it does arrive in a pretty fast fashion besides something like Linux Mint, for example. So I would say overall, using Bazzite for this past couple of days, specifically Bazzite 3, has been a really good experience when it comes to playing games. And I'm gonna do editing tomorrow. I'm gonna edit this video. I'm on Bazzite on Kdenlive, which is on a Flatpak package anyway, so that's probably just going to be a similar experience, which is always pretty good when it comes to editing videos on Kdenlive. And that's what I would say for this video. So if you have enjoyed watching this video, it might be a pretty long video. It's up to 46 minutes, which is pretty damn long. But if you did enjoy watching this video and my experience of using Bazzite, you definitely can give the video a like. You definitely can subscribe to the channel. We did reach 3.8k subs, so that's pretty cool, I would say. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate all of you for watching my videos and interacting with me and on the community posts that I do as well. And thank you to my members as well that are on the subscribe monthly to me, or donate a little bit of money to me on my YouTube channel every month. I'll show a screenshot of them. Thank you for doing that. You definitely can do that if you would like to, if you've made it this far to the video. And that's about it for this video, I would say. So I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.